What's up, Penn Staters, and thanks for tuning into the Football Letter podcast. This week, we welcome volunteer leader Janelle Rushton. Janelle is a 2015 graduate from Penn State's College of Health and Human Development, and she is a longtime volunteer leader for the Alumni Association, just recently finishing an 8-year run serving in various leadership positions with our Philadelphia chapter. She's also president-elect of our H&HD Alumni Society. Janelle has spent basically her entire career in higher education fundraising. I've gotten to know Janelle pretty well over the years, see her on campus all the time. She is a superstar. The Philadelphia chapter is one of our superstar groups. Janelle, thank you so much for joining the Football Letter podcast. How are you doing today?
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
Absolutely. And so we're talking with Janelle here in early July. We record these in the summer and share them during the season. I don't think that's a secret with our audience. And so this is timely for you, Janelle, because you just wrapped up an 8-year run serving in various leadership positions for our Philadelphia chapter. You made a pretty kind of heartfelt LinkedIn post reflecting on that. I wondered if maybe you could, just maybe take a minute or two to reflect on what the last 8 years have been like for you with the Philadelphia chapter and what's going through your mind right now.
Yeah, absolutely. So I always, when I first started looking into getting involved, they were looking for directors, and I didn't think I had the capacity to do that yet. And then a couple of weeks after that, they went through elections. They still needed some more volunteers, and I figured, I was better than nothing at that point. So I threw my hat into the ring, and I was the scholarship and student outreach director to kick it off. And I've been on the board as of 2 days ago. I've officially rolled off, but I was the scholarship and student outreach director for about 4 years. And then I just completed 4 years as vice president. So it's a great organization. It's an amazing group of individuals. And it's been really incredible to see the amount of work that we've done over the past 8 years.
When you reflect on those 8 years, are there one or two things that jump to mind to you in terms of what you're proud that you and the chapter accomplished?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a little bit easier right now to just pick two of them because we had two major milestones. So the chapter actually just celebrated 100 years last summer, which was really exciting. We did a whole fundraising campaign for our scholarship fund, and we also did a big 100th birthday party. So that was really exciting, where we got to reflect and look on everything that the chapter's really done in 100 years. And then the Liberty Ball, which is our Thon and Four Diamonds fundraiser, just celebrated 20 years. And we just surpassed over $500,000 fundraising for that. So I would say those are our two big highlights. We've had so many different opportunities between different Penn State athletic teams coming to Philly. During the pandemic, we were able to be creative and come up with a bunch of different new and engaging opportunities. And I think first and foremost, just bringing in new volunteers who are excited about the opportunity to really engage with the local community has been, one of the largest impacts that we've had.
Absolutely. We're going to be sharing the information on how you can get connected with the chapter. So the chapter website, pennstatephilly.org. So you can check out what the chapter's doing. They've got all their social media channels. We're also going to be throwing some photos up on the screen here in a little bit so you can kind of get a better sense of what the chapter is doing. One of the things that struck me, Janelle, was that you talked about the individuals and the relationships, and it feels like, or it looks like you've built so many strong relationships within the chapter. When you can kind of work toward things on behalf of Penn State and do it with the people who you enjoy working with, how much does that add to the meaningfulness of the work that you do?
Yeah, absolutely. It was really my community in Philly. So almost 2 years ago now, actually, my last term on the board, almost completely, I haven't been living in Philadelphia. I moved back to the Wilkes-Barre area, which is my home and is also, my community. But while living in Philly, the chapter really became my community. A lot of my best friends are on the board or are still advisors and still engaged in different ways. And it's, so important that we all have that one goal of making an impact, not just for the Penn State community, but for the Philadelphia community at large. So I think that's really something that the chapter itself has focused on, is that we're not just here for Penn Staters, but we're here for the city of Philadelphia. And I think that's something that we've really focused on.
So you are tuned into the Football Letter podcast. We are speaking with Janelle Rushton, 2015 Penn State grad, longtime volunteer leader with our Philly chapter. You can visit their website, pennstatephilly.org. We've got it there at the bottom of the screen if you're watching. If you're listening, again, pennstatephilly.org. All right, Janelle, let's start back at the beginning then. What made Penn State the school for you? How did you become a Nittany Lion?
Yeah, so it's funny. I actually grew up in a Notre Dame football household. So being from the Wilkes-Barre area, I come from an East End neighborhood, Irish Catholic family. My grandfather actually went to King's College, which is the last institution I worked at before I got out of higher education. My mother went there, half of my family's gone there, and it was actually started by priests from Notre Dame. So, it's very large in this area. But I was looking at where I was going for college, and the best deal for me was to go to Penn State Hazleton for my first 2 years and then go up to University Park. So I truly didn't start my Penn State journey until I got my acceptance letter. But once I was in, I was in for life. My sister actually followed me as well. So she's 3 years younger. She's also a grad, also pretty big in the Penn State community as well. She loves Penn State football more than I do, I think, which is a little surprising, but she knows all the ins and outs. She's always up on all the recruits and everything. But it really, was something that I built over time. It wasn't something that I was born into, but it's been a really fun journey, becoming a Penn Stater.
What are some of your early impressions of the campus, and how did it start to become home for you?
Yeah, actually, my Penn State journey started at Penn State Wilkes-Barre. One of the greatest things about the Commonwealth campuses is that they're so ingrained into the local community. I wanted to be a veterinarian, actually, when I was a kid growing up, and Penn State Wilkes-Barre was doing a veterinarian camp for kids. So I think I was probably between like 10 or 12 years old, going to Penn State Wilkes-Barre for a couple of weeks every day. My grandfather would pick my friend and I up, and he would take us to the Wilkes-Barre campus. And it's just a stunning campus in and of itself. So, being able to be on that campus and then going to Penn State Hazleton, which is another incredible campus. I love learning all the facts about all of them. It's also fascinating the history of what a lot of these campuses were ahead of time, and then what they've become now. And then University Park, it's so easy to get lost there, and yet it's so small and feels like home at the same time. So they've all kind of left their little mark on me.
Talking about your Penn State experience, were there lessons that you learned at Penn State that you find applying now in your professional life?
Oh, absolutely. There's actually a class that I talk about relentlessly in H&HD. I think it should be a gen ed. I think it's either a 200 or 300 level course, but it's actually on listening skills. And as somebody who's in the fundraising field, like, there is nothing that I need more than that. And I legitimately talk this course up all the time. It's something that, I've done a couple of different professional development programs, and they touch on a lot of that. And I think it's really fascinating that it's a class that, at least in my degree, human development and family studies, was actually required. So I still, everyone listening at Penn State right now, I think that should be a gen ed course that like every freshman could take, because it's really impactful, and I think everyone can really benefit from it.
So perfect segue, Janelle, to your career in higher education fundraising, because I didn't know that you wanted to be a veterinarian growing up, and so I guess our gain is there that field's loss. What is it about higher education fundraising that gets you fired up, that you're so passionate about?
Yeah, it's funny. I sort of just fell into this. Most of my fundraising experience was really fawn related before I graduated from college. And then my senior year, I was working at TGI Fridays, and my boss couldn't guarantee that I wouldn't have to work a football game. And I didn't really like that answer. So I had a friend suggest that I work at Lion Line, which is the university's phone-a-thon program. So if anybody's ever, had that 814 number pop up and some students asking for some dollars, that's how I first got into this field. And I actually really enjoyed it. I loved calling alumni and listening to their stories, and then finding ways for them to make an impact back to the university, however they most want to see that. And that's just kind of what kicked it off for me. I've been at a couple of different institutions. I was at Westchester, Widener, Jefferson, King's College most recently. And then I honestly just made this shift recently to more of the strictly nonprofit space. I'm at Northeast Site Services now, which is an organization focused on site prevention and support for individuals.
All right. So wonderful to hear that story, Janelle. I was going to say, every couple of years on LinkedIn, I see you're starting in a new position in a new place, but it seems like you're always staying in the same kind of geographic area, certainly still staying connected to Penn State. We're going to share a couple chapter photos here on the screen. And we talked, you've reflected a little bit, but now that you're kind of seeing these photos and the memories, how big of a role did the Philadelphia chapter play for you once you graduated from Penn State in terms of professionally, personally, and all the ways that it was able to keep you connected?
Yeah, absolutely. So much. I say that Penn State really raised me as a fundraiser in multiple ways. I participated in an internship program actually right when I graduated that Penn State has for development and alumni engagement. So that really started the pathway, but being able to get involved in the chapter. And I realized that, like, again, being in fundraising and alumni engagement, it almost seems like it makes more sense. But for any individuals, we have so many different roles that you can really grow your professional development experiences, that I think there's something that fits for every single career opportunity. There's so many different things that I was able to do and try, as a board, especially Shane, who's our current president. Shane and I, as our exec team, we really wanted everyone to come in and try new things, and it's okay to fail, and if an event has 5 people show up, that's potentially 5 people that we never had before, and when we have our block parties that has hundreds of people, that's more people that we get to connect with. So I really grew a lot, as a professional, but also as an individual, and being able to build all these important connections. I know that all the Penn State Philly people are individuals that I'll have, in my life for the rest of my life. And we've really truly become a family. We've had marriages and babies now, and it's been really cool to be able to watch the growth of everyone through the organization.
Yeah, a lot of times people talk about, their Penn State family. Like that's a real thing. It's a real feeling. We stopped the photos on this one. I believe this is at a Phillies game. The chapter won a volunteer award a couple years ago for hosting an event at a Phillies game to bring in more recent alumni. What did it mean to kind of get that award and to see that the impact that you're doing in Philly, the progress that you're making is valued and it's also being recognized?
Yeah, it's one of those things, you're not like out to win anything, but it's really nice to when you do. And it's nice to be recognized, also to be told that we're one of the chapters that everyone's kind of looking to. We're also very open. We've had multiple different chapters and alumni interest groups reach out and ask us for ideas or advice or support. And we really want to be that. We've consistently said that we as a chapter are a conduit for Penn State to the city of Philadelphia, but I think we're also there to, help engage other volunteers as well. We have a lot of brand new board members that we're really excited about, and I'm excited. They know that I'm not going necessarily anywhere. I might be physically 2 hours away, but I'm always available. So I think it's a really great new opportunity to bring in a whole host of new volunteers who are engaged, love Penn State, and want to make a difference and be able to help grow them into those areas.
So one of the many things that your chapter does that our chapters do is, beyond the football watch parties, there are also community service events. And you said, you want to be there for the city of Philadelphia. We stopped here on this photo. This was part of a local community cleanup effort. I was just going to say, can you just give our readers a little bit of context of what's happening here? Because I don't want to steal anything that you're going to say about the Penn State grad there in the middle, Carl Nassib.
Yeah, absolutely. I adore Carl. Carl and I have become good friends, and it's all because of Penn State Phillies. So I actually DM'd Carl on Instagram from the Philly chapter account. I saw that he was doing a park cleanup in New York. So it was a couple of years ago now. And he was still actively playing in Tampa Bay, which I thought that was kind of weird that he was doing a park cleanup during the season up in New York City. And I knew he was from the Philly area, and I was like, we have to get him here to do something like that, because he has his app called Raise, which is a volunteer and fundraising platform. If you don't have it, you should download it. As somebody who works in the nonprofit space, I love it. I use it all the time. We use it for the chapter as well. And so I just said, hey, Carl, would love to help you do this in Philly. And within 20 minutes, he was like, absolutely, like, let's do it. So we've done this 3 or 4 times now, I think, almost, since this original photo. It's rained almost every time, and we've done it. So we've done it 3 times now. We've done it in March, April, and May. But everyone always comes out. Everyone loves it. We have people who drive from a distance to come back every year. We actually have people who love it and want to participate and be out there. And we have a really fun time. We enjoy going out and cleaning up the community. This is at FDR Park, which is in South Philadelphia. We've done a couple of other ones as well, but FDR Park, Friends of FDR, are super accommodating and they love when we come. So that's definitely a event that we do every single year.
So you send Carl a DM, he gets right back to you. How much do you think that speaks to, the power of the Penn State network, Penn Staters being there for one another?
Oh, absolutely. I think that any Penn Stater will drop anything for any other Penn Stater. And that's something that, especially in a city as large as Philadelphia, we try to make the chapter a home for all Nittany Lions in the area. So that way they have somewhere to go to, especially if you're a new person in a big city. It's nice that you know that you have a community to go back to. I actually so this is the first time I've ever actually had a boss who's a Nittany Lion. So I've been at my new job for about 2 months now. Our president and CEO, Amy, is also a Penn Stater. So we have a lot of fun with that, and it's been really exciting.
I think Carl graduated in 2015 or 2016. So he was playing when you were a student then. Do you remember seeing him play when you were a student?
Yes, I do. I remember seeing him there. So we didn't know each other yet then. And I actually even remember when he first came out, like texting my sister about it. And we were so proud of him and so excited. And I didn't know him until after we had graduated, but just funny that we were there at the same time. And it's been cool to really be able to grow that relationship as well.
So most folks watching or tuning in, I'm sure are familiar with Carl Nassib, but just to kind of, so everybody is, has the same info. So Carl, an All-American defensive end for Penn State in the mid 2010s. I think 2015 was the year that he was
a walk-on.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, there's this great story where, Bill O'Brien, who, we love, he was very upfront with Carl and said, look, I don't think you're ever going to play in the NFL. You're probably not going to get any meaningful reps. And Carl just said, well, I'm going to walk on, and he gets 15, 16 sacks, an All-American, was also spending some time in the NFL, was the first openly gay player in the NFL. His jersey, I believe, was just sent to the Smithsonian Museum. Mm-hmm. That's right, I'm guessing you saw that?
Yep.
And so just a very prominent member of the Penn State community, now on the board of trustees. And so, and also Janelle Rushton's good friend.
It's been cool to really be able to see that, just from sending a DM. He's truly one of the most genuine people, and he just wants to make a difference in the world, which is something that we very much align on, which is why I think, from our first interaction, we jumped on a Zoom together and we were on for like over an hour. And anytime we jump on a call, it's like well over an hour when we just meant to talk about something for 5 minutes. So he truly, genuinely just wants to make a positive impact in the world. And he's always down for anything. Like, again, he's repeatedly told the story. I had him come to the Wyoming Valley in the fall for a fundraising conference where he was talking about Raise, and he was talking about how the day that we did the park cleanup is one of his favorite days ever because he just enjoys doing that. And he's completely telling the truth. Even when it was downpouring and raining and we're out there picking up tires and trash, like, he's still just thriving.
And I need to thank Janelle again, because we wrote a story on the park cleanup a couple years ago, and I spoke with Janelle and I thought, it would be great to talk with Carl, but it's never going to happen. And then Janelle made it happen like in a couple of minutes, and we set up a call with Carl, and that was fantastic. And it's just kind of a wonderful story where you see, somebody getting right back to you, another Penn Stater just willing to jump in. And so thanks for sharing that story, Janelle.
Of course. Yeah.
So here's another photo of the 100th anniversary party celebration that Janelle referenced earlier. We've been talking for almost 20 minutes on the Football Letter podcast, and we haven't even talked football yet, which I think speaks to, the versatility of the chapters and everything that you do. We hear from volunteers who say, a football watch party was what got me involved in a chapter initially, and then they just kept, learning more about what the chapter was doing and getting involved. So let's talk football now, and we'll kind of branch it out from there. When it's game day, how does the Philly chapter unite Penn Staters and bring a little bit of that Beaver Stadium feeling to Philly?
Yeah, we like to have a couple of opportunities for people to participate in. So currently, and I know we're in some preseason discussions right now, so there will definitely be some new announcements coming out as we reach the fall, but we've been home in Tradesman's and City Tap for about 5 years now. So we used to be at Fieldhouse, which we loved and adored. Unfortunately, Fieldhouse shut down during the pandemic. So once we came back to doing our game watches, we've been at Tradesman's and City Tap ever since. They're both really great vibes, slightly different. Tradesman's a little bit, I would say, more fratty, where City Tap, you can typically actually get a table. So it depends on the situation that you're looking for, but both are incredible opportunities to go engage and just be around other Penn Staters during the games. We have a game watch every single weekend. And we also do a block party at Tradesman's, and the block party this year will be for the Iowa game. So for that game, we shut down the street actually next to Tradesman's. We've had upwards of 400, 500, 600 people there, all the way down the street. We have a massive screen that Tradesman's gets for us, and it's a really fun, incredible environment. And there's always a DJ.
You are tuned into the Football Letter podcast. We are speaking with volunteer leader Janelle Rushton, and we are discussing how the Philly chapter unites Penn Staters on game day for their watch parties. They've got a couple different options for alumni. So what are you doing at a watch party, Janelle, if you're not in State College for a game? How does the chapter and how do you kind of leverage those opportunities at a watch party to share with folks a little bit more about what the chapter is doing?
Yeah, we like to walk around and just engage with people, especially when it comes to volunteers. Everyone has a different capacity of what they're looking for. So if all you can do is come out to our game watches and support, we love that because we work with all of our game watch locations to actually benefit the chapter. So a portion of, typically we have a special menu that the bars will then come back. Some of the funds will then come back to the chapter, and that goes to our scholarship as well as towards the Liberty Ball. So actually last year we raised over $77,000 for the Liberty Ball, and a large portion of that was due to our game watches in addition to sponsorships and some other opportunities. But just coming out and participating and, getting a bucket of beer can make as much of an impact as what we need from you. So we're truly thankful when anyone can come out and just participate. We like to, highlight different things. We'll jump on the mic. We do 50-50, really any opportunity to get out and engage with it, people.
The Liberty Ball that Janelle referenced was also the 20th anniversary that the group celebrated, the annual fundraiser. So that's something else that can bring in Penn Staters in the Philadelphia area. Shifting the conversation a little bit, Janelle, I've seen you back on campus for our ALC conference, our Alumni Leadership Connections conference. Just wondering, how being able to stay connected to the Alumni Association specifically, how has that helped your professional development, your personal development, and especially that conference, because there's always so much energy there at that time?
Yeah, I tell people, even if they're not currently a volunteer or not at a certain level where they think that they should be going to something like that, I tell them all that they should go, first of all, because you're in Happy Valley. It's kind of like almost like a college adult summer camp-ish kind of vibe. It's a couple hundred Penn Staters where we're in conferences and sessions all day. And then we just kind of all hang out and go out together at night. So it's a great opportunity to connect with individuals throughout the country. I know Penn State, Hawaii usually has somebody show up. People come from Florida, Texas, all over. So it's a really great opportunity to be able to connect with other Penn Staters across the country. And again, they're a resource for you. So being able to see what they're doing, I know the San Diego chapter does a beach cleanup, and while we can't necessarily do that in Philly, there's some different pieces from that we can then take and kind of reuse however we need it. So I think the opportunities that the Alumni Association provides for us to develop a lot of our leadership skills is another area that I've really grown. A lot of the programming is really beneficial, even, again, if you're not a volunteer leader or you're just kind of trying to figure out how to get into the nonprofit volunteer space. It's a great opportunity to really learn how to do some things.
So when you're back on campus, what are some things that are at the top of your to-do list? What do you got to get done, or what do you want to see when you're back on campus?
Yeah, absolutely. Always got to stop at the creamery. I also just love walking around and seeing everything that's changed. I actually have a cousin who just graduated from BCU 2 or 3 years ago now. And we were in Richmond this past weekend, and she was already seeing things that have been different. So I think it's really cool to be able to see your college and university being progressive and being able to grow with the college students that are currently there. So I'm excited to say, I know that a new engineering building is coming online. I think it was in process. I saw some construction, Beaver Stadium, the construction there. That's one thing that you always learn working in higher education is summer is basically construction season. So I'm excited to see all the new things, but also, all the things that are the same. Being able to pop into some, the First is my favorite bar. So anytime I can pop in there, I'm always happy.
So after an 8-year run on the Philadelphia chapter, serving in various leadership positions, most people, Janelle, I think, would probably take a break. You're not most people. You're now the president-elect of our H&HD Alumni Society. How did that new role come into your radar?
Yeah, so I've been the president-elect for about a year now. I was previously the president for the Human Development and Family Studies Alumni Group. So the H&HD Alumni Society board is also built up of different alumni groups for all of the different majors. So that was really how I started getting involved volunteer-wise. Right after I graduated, I was asked to join the HDFS alumni group. And I didn't really know too much about volunteerism when it came to Penn State. But I joined that group. I became president at one point. And then when you are president, and they've now transitioned it to past president, so I actually served for 4 years because I was during that time period. You serve on the H&HD Alumni Society board. So I was able to get opportunities to be around that group, which is a really impressive group of individuals as well. Everyone likes to say that Philly is like one of the stars of the alumni chapters, and then H&HD is one of the stars of the Alumni Society. So it's great to be able to see that. And I've also learned a lot from being able to bring both of those together, because I think that they weren't always necessarily for the Alumni Society thinking about regional chapters and groups. And then same thing with regional chapters and groups weren't always thinking about working with the different Alumni Society boards. So that was definitely something being on both at the same time. I wanted to work between Philly and H&HD or HDFS. And we did a couple of different events and opportunities where it was focused on specific colleges. So I think that's another area of growth that collaborating and working together has been a big part of Penn State Philly. We have Smeal Club Philly, AAAO in Philly, even working with like DMAG, which is the Dance Marathon Alumni Interest Group when it comes to the Liberty Ball. The more people that you have working together, the less work that there is for everyone and the more that you can really accomplish. So I think being aware of all your resources is so important, and also knowing that, again, you have all these Penn Staters to reach out to.
So in terms of reaching out to Penn Staters and volunteers, Janelle, if somebody wants to get involved, but they're just not sure how, what would be a piece of advice from you in terms of like, just what's a good way to get started and what's a good first step?
Yeah, especially with Penn State Philly, just go to our website, pennstatephilly.org. There's a get involved button. You can just fill out your information there. I think too, most chapters and organizations, you're able to find who is the president or whatever capacity you're looking for on that board or organization, and connect with them on LinkedIn and just shoot them a message. I mean, again, that's how Carl and I became connected. I just DM'd him on Instagram. You really never know what's going to happen when you just reach out to someone. And I think, Penn Staters, whenever we have another Nittany Lion popping into our LinkedIn messages, we're always happy to help. So I think there's a lot of different opportunities and ways for you to get involved. I think you just have to take the first step, whether that's, again, going on the website, filling out a form, messaging someone on LinkedIn or even Instagram, and then also just showing up to events or opportunities, following the different groups on Facebook, Instagram, whatever platforms they have, and then just showing up to your first event is really, what makes a difference.
So we'll wrap up with Janelle with this question. What is the best part for you about being part of the Penn State Alumni Network?
That's a really great question. I think it's just, again, that sense of community. Community is very important to me. That's one of the main reasons why I actually moved back home to the Wyoming Valley, because this is such a special, important community. And I think it's also built up of a lot of Penn Staters, so that might be a reason why. So the Penn State community is also very near and dear to my heart, and I think that just being involved with it really makes an impact.
Janelle, we are so thrilled that you made time for us today, and we're also grateful for everything you do for the Alumni Association and for Penn State. So thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.